According to Piaget, a schema is a mental framework and a place where people store knowledge from personal experiences. Schemas are like the building blocks of knowledge that you gain from your personal experiences.
There are four main characteristics of schema theory. They are equilibrium, disequilibrium, assimilation, and accommodation. Equilibrium is the driving force behind schema theory. It's when people use assimilation and accommodation to understand new information. The ultimate goal of a person is to use their prior knowledge when assimilating and accommodating to reach a point of understanding, which is called equilibrium. If equilibrium is where you want to be, then disequilibrium is where you don't want to be. Disequilibrium is when you're confused by new information. Then a person has to make a choice whether to assimilate or accommodate that new information into their schemas. Assimilating, or the process of assimilation, is when a person tries to fit new knowledge or information into already existing schemas, using their prior knowledge without changing or adapting their schemas. Accommodating, or the process of accommodation, is when a person must change or construct a new schema because new information does not quite line up with their prior knowledge, or there is no prior knowledge on that particular subject. Now that's a lot of new information to put into your schemas, so let me help you out with an everyday scenario that will help it make sense. This is my younger brother Bobby. My pre-existing schema of Bobby is that he's a good kid and usually really nice, polite, and well-mannered. But one day, this happened. Suddenly, I was in disequilibrium. My mind could not make sense of what just happened and the new information that my mind was processing. There were two things I could do. I could assimilate that new information and just assume that maybe he didn't see me because he was on his phone, and that he was still the nice, polite, and well-mannered kid that fit my pre-existing schema, and life would go on. Or I could use accommodation and change my pre-existing schema of Bobby into one of a rude younger sibling, then perhaps hold a grudge and not let him borrow my car the next time he asked. But whichever one I used, assimilation or accommodation, I would be able to fit that new information into a schema that I had already formed, or I could change and construct a new schema of Bobby that was different from my prior knowledge and experience. Another example would be of a child riding a bike. He has fun past experiences while riding this bike, but one day he takes a turn while going too fast and falls. He goes into disequilibrium and probably some pain and is confused about why he fell. He can do two things from here. He can assimilate this new experience, get back on his bike, and attribute his fall to a mistake and still see biking as a fun experience. Or he can accommodate and change his schema of riding a bike to a dangerous activity that he no longer wants to do. Whichever one he does, he will eventually reach equilibrium.